So do you think Obama made it worse?
Definitely.
How so?
When it came to Trayvon Martin, the story between Trayvon and Zimmerman is extremely complicated.
Right.
And Zimmerman, for instance, is Hispanic. Mm-hmm. He was like a white Hispanic guy.
So is Kyle.
Kyle. Oh, yeah.
Kyle
yeah
Rittenhouse, he's
right.
also Hispanic.
But, Barack Obama's whole perspective on it was the left-wing perspective. If I had a kid, he'd look like Trayvon.
Uh-huh.
Instead of calling for unity and saying, we need to understand sometimes these circumstances are tragic, unfortunate, and violence and death happens, and that's why we need to make sure this doesn't happen. And we need to expand beyond the people while respecting those who lost their lives, calling for justice, recognize this is a systemic issue that needs to be solved. What I mean by systemic is, like in the instance of Breonna Taylor, it's not about racism, it's about no-knock warrants.
Right.
So Rand Paul says, hey, none of these. And I understand some people have some good reasons for no-knock warrants. I prefer no. I think they have to announce themselves and they can make a perimeter. And you can't, because people have a right to defend themselves too. Absolutely. And you're creating a circumstance to put potentially innocent people in harm's way. So that's one of the things he could have done. But more importantly, it was Obama and Biden during all of that stuff. They consistently took the left-wing view of everything. The right was bad, of course it was. The National Guard was deployed to Ferguson. They sent out police, very much so under Obama's watch. Racial tensions escalated, particularly with Black Lives Matter.
See, people have a hard time believing me when I tell them that. I'm like, I really think that Obama did more to undermine race relations in this country than you could possibly imagine that the first black president would. And people are like, are you crazy?
But I don't think it's that much, though.
You don't think it was?
Okay, so listen, he, off the top of my head, it's the thing he mentioned, if I had a kid, Trayvon, and it's very
Baltimore
much...
and Ferguson and stuff.
Yeah. But I don't think it's Trump's fault, and I don't think it was Obama's fault. I think there's definitely things that Trump and Obama said or did that contribute. They're the president, of course. But I think the fault of these issues, for the most part, lands in localities. It lands in the media. And for the most part, the media and the activists.
Okay, but do you think that because the media was entirely in Obama's pocket, do you think that they gave him more credence than he might have even necessarily deserved when he was making his race-based statements?
Absolutely.
Yeah, way more than they
and
did
then,
Trump.
Because they go after Trump, they fan the flames of this. The media, in my opinion, is the biggest player here. And I think social media as well. For instance, Cassandra Fairbanks got suspended from Twitter. She's a conservative journalist because she tweeted that Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong.
Right.
They suspended her for an opinion over an individual who
lawyer.
has not been convicted. Mm-hmm. Yet Antifa is actively organizing on the platform.
Right. Social
media is to blame. Media in general is to blame. And they go hand in hand. These fake news journalists defend censorship. They say, but they lie. Oh, the lies, man. Cassandra Fairbanks gets suspended. And they say there's no bias against conservatives. It's like, well, hold on. Antifa is on the platform saying, hey, everyone, we're meeting here, bring sticks.
Right.
Like, okay, I'm exaggerating, but they'll be like, bring supplies to help defend, the community. That's okay.
So I would say that the media wields even more power than almost any politician.
Yes, absolutely.
How is that okay?
It's not okay. Well, it's not so much whether it's okay or it's not okay. The issue is they're unchecked. Right. And anybody who dares challenge them, they smear. I mean, I'm not going to get into it, but Gamergate, for instance, was very from my view of what it was, and I probably don't know a whole lot about it, you get a bunch of people saying, hey, these journalists are taking money from the advertisers, and then they're writing bunk articles. And the next day, they're like, a bunch of white supremacists are harassing us.
Uh-huh. Weird, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, I already know that even bringing it up, I'm going to get a bunch of people being like, here's what really happened, and the leftists being like, how dare you defend... They still talk about Gamergate. The left still says, like, Trump is the Gamergate president or whatever. And it's like, you know what's funny? Who was it who tweeted this? I think it was Oliver Darcy, claiming that the right defending Rittenhouse is like the definition of radicalization.
Yes.
That was him, right?
That was him.
So he's CNN guy for Sunday Morning. And I'm just like, okay, let's play a game. Let's define radicalization. How about do this? Can you Google search the word? We're going to play a game.
Define radicalization.
Yeah. Just Google radicalization's definition. What does Google say?
Okay, it says the action or process of causing someone to adopt radical positions on political or social issues. Wait, this sounds like... Okay, go on. What were you going to say?
So radicalization, that's the name of the game. All right. Is it radical to suggest border security?
Nope.
No, because the Democrats were in favor of it
Couple years ago.
I
Yeah.
mean, even Hillary Clinton in the past election cycle was saying we needed some kind of border security. Okay. Is it radical to suggest that we should bolster the economy, bring factories back, and help the middle class get jobs?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I don't know. What else do we got? Is it radical to suggest that the United States should be able to defend itself and that its allies should pay their fair share towards defense spending when we send our troops over to their jurisdiction?
No, it seems fair.
Yeah, because we've been doing it for decades.
Right.
Okay. Is it radical to suggest we should remove our troops from the Middle East and from other unnecessary endless wars?
Absolutely not.
No, because the left has been calling for it for decades.
Up until Trump called for it.
Is it radical to suggest that we should overhaul and abolish our private healthcare system and replace it with pure government spending?
Yes.
That's completely
That's
radical.
insanity.
That's an over, okay, maybe we can work. Is it radical to suggest we should build trains and phase out air travel and ban all fossil fuels?
So yes, yes, because radical. If we got into the definition of radicalization,
Yeah.
But the word radical, the root word, especially of a change or action relating to or affecting the fundamental nature of something far-reaching or thorough.
Okay.
So yes, the whole planes, trains, and things would be.
Is it radical to suggest we should decriminalize border crossings?
Yeah.
Is it radical to suggest that we should no longer deport people who enter the country illegally?
Yeah.
These things are all radical compared to where America's been for the past 200 years.
And that is far-reaching.
Right. So obviously we can go back in time and talk about, they like to make these arguments about when citizenship became a thing and when borders became a thing, and they became things. And as long as I've existed in this country, we've had border security and border patrol and immigration services. It is radical to me as a regular American to be told abolish private health care, which is literally what Bernie said. I'm not exaggerating. The Green New Deal, banning fossil fuels, and a moratorium on deportations and decriminalizing border crossings and providing universal health care to non-citizens. I'm like, that's psychotic.
Yes.
You want to inch towards this stuff? I'll be like, okay, concessions can be made. But to be like, wait, what do you got?
So this is, okay, yeah, I'll let you finish what you're thinking, but Heather Hang made this point a while ago, and this is something that Jordan Peterson talked about a little bit. You don't fool with something that's been in place for a very long time unless you have an extremely good reason for doing so. Because things are in place often for a reason. I'm not talking about flaws in our society like racism and sexism and all that stuff. I'm talking about things like borders. Things that every single country in the world has. You mess with those kinds of things, you mess with the family at your own peril. These are things that you definitely do not understand. You do not understand the implications of what you're trying to do. And when you do radical things, that's exactly what you're doing. And I know without a doubt by looking at people like AOC that they're not thinking past stage one.
This is why it's fascinating to watch Joe Biden. When I think he said something today, do I look like a dirty social? What did he say?
Do I look like a radical socialist or whatever?
It's like, I got to be honest, Joe. Yes.
A little
bit.
bit.
I said earlier, no. And let me make sure I can clarify this. No, in the sense that Joe Biden looks like a crotchety old man who has no idea what's going on.
He looks weak.
You're right. But I was thinking about it in terms of the conversation of radicalization. I mean, Joe Biden has agreed to a lot of Bernie's proposals. Not all of them. He's not far left enough, but that's radical to regular Americans.
Right.
I mean, it's mind-blowing to me. I think Kamala actually walked this back. They said, who would be in favor of abolishing private health care? She raised her hand, right?
I remember that,
in the early debates. And then she issued a public statement later that day or night where saying, oh, actually, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I remember this.
It's radical to say you want to abolish private health care. It is radical to say you want to defund the police. It is particularly radical for the New York Times to publish an article saying, yes, we mean abolish the police. So who are the radicals? It's the left. So it's no surprise, to go back to what I was saying, that we can have these conversations, that we can get tremendous viewership, not just me, but many other channels, and the media has no idea it's happening because they're in the radical bubble. To them, Trump is far right because they're far left, whereas Trump's actually a moderate relative to American policy.
Yep.
They've radicalized themselves. And, it's really sad. I was talking to a friend, and his first foray into the actual through the fire, like the outside, what can we call this? Basically, I think it was Breitbart who said this, walk through the fire.
Yep.
On the other side, there's freedom.
Yeah, Andrew Breitbart.
Yeah, and so there are people who are still on the other side scared and they've not seen outside. They have not seen the freedom, and they have not seen what's actually going on. And then as soon as they peek their head out, they're like, what's happening? It's scary. It's cold. And where am I? And it's like, you're on the beach, dude. Yeah. We're chilling. You're on your own now. They like being in that cave, surrounded, being told what to do, told what to think. I imagine it this way. All of these people are sitting in a cave, and there's one person in the front of that cave telling them, here's what's happening outside. Trust us. There's fire. It'll burn you.
Plato's cave.
Kind of. But
yeah. I think that's what it is.
Is it Plato's?
I think it is.
But the general idea is a bunch of people are being told, if you go outside, the fire will burn you. Don't do it. Just trust us and we'll tell you. And then, do work for us.
It's easy. It's safe.
And well, if you trust people, it makes sense. If you grew up with someone, always there for you, and they told you if you go outside, you'll die because the air is poison, and then you grow up and finally go outside and you discover the air's not poison, then, Rick and Morty reference, by the way, then you're like, my whole life is a lie. What's happening? And you might have like what's the right word? You might have an intense reaction.
You'll have an existential crisis for sure.
Yeah. So a lot of people who go through this, they probably resist it. It's like when we were talking to Brandon Strzok from Walkaway, and he said that he did all this research and he was willing to let it all go if Rachel Maddow produced some hard evidence against Trump. Like, he had watched all these videos. He had seen that they were lying about Trump. And then Rachel Maddow said, I got his tax return. He was like, okay, I will ignore everything I read if she has something.
That was such an insight, because it was like, I understand that feeling, because I've made some hard changes in my own thinking, and I've been like, you know what? It would be easier if this weren't true. I would like this to not be true, but it is.
I totally get that. Because I think about this, but I guess, what one of my advantages is a bit of like existential nihilism in a sense, where I feel like you should go through life with a smile on your face, because I actually, I wonder if this is kind of like faith in a sense, where it's like, I feel that there is a plan, a purpose, that the world is what it is. You deserve nothing.
Right.
You can work hard and then a rock can fall on your head and kill you,
Yeah.
So I go through life under the like this view. I've often thought about like if my channels got banned.
Right. I know. You think about that all the time.
And I'd just laugh and I'd be like, well, what can you do about it? And I think this comes from, when I was younger. I remember my dad telling me, if he was telling me about the Great Depression,
right,
and how people were killing themselves because they lost all their money in the stock market and stuff. And I was like, why would they do that? And he's like, if you made $1 million and lost it overnight, you'd be angry too. And no, I wouldn't. I'd be like, wow, I had $1 million. How about that? Well, what do I have to do now to get what I need? If you go through life with that kind of view, then you're not going to be this negative, angry person who's refusing to accept reality, right? So here's the ultimate point I'm trying to make. When I see news and it's like, Donald Trump did a bad thing because the orange man is bad, my reaction isn't like, how dare they lie about Trump? I go like, I wonder if this one's true.
Right.
Probably isn't, but I'm going to read it anyway. And I go, and there we go. It's not true.
Yep.
So I definitely develop a bias in the sense where it's like the media lies so much, I just can't give them the benefit of the doubt. But if something bad came out, about Trump or Trump supporters, I'd just be like, I just don't care. You can't expect that your tribe is perfect. You can't expect the world is perfect. You can work as hard as you want. And while I do believe meritocracy is the best way to go about, building functioning systems, you could be the greatest guy in the world doing all the hardest work in the world, and then someone could walk up and just like crack you over the head with a bat and you're gone.
Yep.
So it's just you live your life day to day and you accept that there's ups and there's downs. If bad news comes out, many people refuse to accept it, I think because they're scared. Their survivability is an issue.
I don't know if you've ever read the poem that's called If by Rudyard Kipling.
Nope.
He talks about, he says, if you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings and not lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, this is what makes you a man of character. If you look at people and you're like, you know what? It doesn't matter what they do to me. This is a Stoic teaching at this point. It doesn't matter what they do to me. It only matters what I do and whether I make something of myself. And if I lose everything, so what? That's the way it is sometimes. And that's probably the most well-rounded philosophy you can have when you're looking at this crazy world that's currently on fire and insane. Like, what else are you supposed to do? Be a little bit nihilistic, care about the people around you, do the best you can, and look for truth. Like, what's better?
I think I got lucky. I had good parents.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because I remember I was late for school once, because we lived on the south side of Chicago, and there's trains that go through the south side. And the trains, man, wow, they're long. You ever waited a train and it's like the freight and you like turn your engine off on your car because you're like, oh, I'm going to be here for 20 minutes.
Right.
And so I remember going to school and the train blocked me and I was late. And then I was like, I come home and my dad was like, I was like, oh, I was late. You got to sign a form or something. I can't remember exactly what we used to do back then. But he was like, well, he's like, this is your fault. Like, why were you late? And I was like, it wasn't my fault. There was a train. And he goes, you knew the train tracks were there. Right. It was your fault. If you know the tracks are there and you know the trains are there, then you need to prepare for the trains. And I was like, oh, yeah.
That's true, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
I can't change the train schedules.
Right.
And I knew the trains come through in the mornings. I should have properly planned ahead.
I used to drive with people who would get mad at red lights. They were like, well, the light would turn green and they were like, why aren't we moving yet? I'm like, because the car in front of you isn't moving yet. And there is nothing you can do about that. But you can wait until that car starts moving and then you can go and it's great.
That's really it. It's like
running into a wall.
What does this remind me of? You need to let go. You need to. It's what am I thinking of? I was thinking it's like some martial arts movie where he's explaining like going with the flow and having the like you're in a river, and it's you're flowing downstream and you can try and resist it or you can steer yourself and use that speed and control it. A better way to explain it is I can't control the wind, but I can adjust my sails.
Exactly.
Stop getting so mad all the time.
Right. Exactly.
I think if you chill, and a lot of these people aren't. This is why they have these crises of character when news comes out about Trump. It's also why I think we're experiencing what we are with Trump derangement syndrome media. People can't accept. In their world, Trump is the evil bad man. Mm-hmm. Therefore, no matter what happens, they view it through the lens of Trump being the evil bad man. And so what ends up happening is they develop. It's almost amazing how their brains are stitched together at this point. Because it's kind of like if you took, I don't know, a motor scooter and duct taped it to a car and then put like bike pedals on it. You wouldn't expect it to be able to drive. You're like, what is this? Like, how do you actually make it move?
Yeah.
But they've somehow stitched together these broken reality,
Frankenstein thing.
This Frankenstein worldview, and turned it into some kind of functioning system where they can still live, breathe, and eat. And but what I mean to say, because it is a bit silly, but you'll simultaneously be like, Trump is inciting violence. Why won't he stop this? How dare he send out police to stop this?
Yep.
Like, how do you have that in your brain at the exact same time?
I tweeted this earlier. I said 2020 is the year of why won't this fascist dictator send troops to stop this peaceful rioting or something?
Or why won't this fascist dictator seize all our guns?
Exactly.
Or here's an article about here's an interview with a woman who wrote a book called In Defense of Looting. By the way, the looting is Trump's fault.
By the way, it's not happening at all and it's entirely peaceful. It's great. I love to see it. Right.
Wow. That reminds me of that David Firth, the news hasn't happened yet segments. Yeah. If you guys haven't seen David Firth stuff, you really got to watch it because the dude's a genius.
Weird.
But yeah, he has a segment called The News Hasn't Happened Yet. And that so reminds me of it. It's like, the riots are peaceful. The fires aren't really that bad. Protesters burning down buildings are also peaceful. Trump is inciting this. He didn't actually say anything to incite it. And he's sending out troops because he's a fascist. But the troops actually aren't there. And looting is actually a good thing.
Yes. Okay. All of these things. No one sees any issue with this at all, except maybe us.
It's so I guess the way I put it, though, it has to actually be the most negative interpretation. Always.
Right.
Trump's trying to send out Gestapo secret police to round up protesters while he's inciting the violence, and he won't stop the violence because it's Trump's America, and looting is good because the protesters are doing it, and it's reparations.
What's funny to me is if you sat them down and you asked them to explain what they were thinking, they wouldn't be able to. And that baffles me. How do you go through life without being able to explain what you think?
Well, here it is, right?
Yeah.
How do you break people out of this broken worldview?
There's nothing to break them into.
Well, no, there is, like, to get them out and show them, like, so I was talking to a friend of mine who was very much like experiencing their first time through the flames. And I sent him an article and they're like, huh. And you can clearly see when people are starting to realize, like, wait a minute, like, what is this all about? The things I was reading before said that the Orange Man is bad. And I'm like, here's a video. Watch the video. Just watch Trump speak one time. I've mentioned this several times, but having gone to Trump's rallies early on, I think inoculated me from Trump derangement syndrome because it changed my assumptions. I met Trump supporters immediately. I watched Trump speak immediately. And then when I saw stuff in the news, I was like, he didn't say that, whatever.
Yeah.
But I was working for companies experiencing them lie, so,
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always tell people, if you think that you know what the media is doing, you should just watch Trump speak and then watch what they say about it. Because I always kind of place my bets. I'm like, which way are they going to go with this? Are they going to go two different ways? Different outlets are going to say different things about the same thing that was said?
They do.
They totally do. It's great every time.
Do you see the, let me see if I can find it. It's an old Instagram post where it wasn't, I didn't put this tweet together, but I wasn't able to properly attribute the photo because it was put together by someone with a very offensive name that would get me banned from Instagram.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, I don't know, I can't even say the name because it's going to result in like getting banned. But check this out.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a post I put on Instagram, and I think I mentioned this. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, you've got two screens. This is amazing. This is in a gym. On the left, you've got CBS. Sondland confirms a quid pro quo. This is in reference to Gordon Sondland testifying about Donald Trump and Ukraine. On the right is Fox News. Quote, I want nothing. Sondland confirms Trump told him no quid pro quo. You quite literally have two different news outlets reporting two different things being confirmed.
They have the same image on the screen.
Yep. They have
Different
it's exactly.
Yeah.
So here's what I said. I said two different realities, and it's impossible to convince people what's true, but I'll try anyway. Sondland did not confirm quid pro quo. He stated that he presumed there was one, but received no direct orders and heard nothing of this from any other staffer. He did confirm that Donald Trump said, I want nothing. Sondland's testimony of a presumed quid pro quo was contradicted by two other officials. Trump confirmed the I want nothing call. Maybe that's journalism, you know?
To offer differing viewpoints?
No. To actually do what I just did and say straight up.
Yeah.
You've got these two screens. Fox News was correct. CBS lied.
Right. So just pick which is right.
That's crazy, man. And so what happens is when you have this for 4 years and people build a worldview off of this, you can't change that because they'll go insane. They'll have a nervous breakdown.
Well, that's what I mean. There's nothing to pop them out of. Like there's nothing to pop them into, out of their little bubble. Where do you go from there? They've been building this for years and there's nothing. And if you sit them, that's what I mean. If you sit them down and ask them to explain what they're thinking, they have nothing.
This feels like a grand experiment in like mass delusional, mass like media-induced paranoid delusional complexities
yeah, it's
or
working
whatever.
Great.
Yeah, like that woman we talked about last week where she's like, Trump is an autocrat trying to take over and Putin's helping him. It's like, dude, you're crazy.
Go watch a movie or something.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, how about Donald Trump is a, kind of a pompous...
flawed president.
Yeah.
Getting stuff done.
Yeah. Seth MacFarlane tweeted something about voting for Biden. And I was just thinking to myself, like, there's no way he really means this. Seth is smart. He's a smart guy. He's got 14 million followers. Yeah. Does he, like, it's just a game to him? He's like, well, Trump is bad, vote for Biden. I'm like, nobody who's paying attention thinks that Biden is better than Trump. Nobody's paying attention. The people who are wrapped up in bubble world where they're watching fake news certainly think Trump is like a demon from outer space or like, the child of a demon and an alien or something, trying to eat human beings and destroy the planet. He's an autocrat.
Yeah.
And, he's responsible for the riots while refusing to do anything, whatever. I don't think any sane person who watches real news and does research is thinking Biden makes more sense. The dude just did like his first rally in 100 days or some ridiculous number, and he couldn't speak properly. And it's remarkable. You turn on CNN and they're like, Trump supporters for some reason think Biden can't speak. And I'm like, have you watched his rallies? Nobody is suggesting that the entire hour he spoke was him just like teeth falling out. But he gaffes.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
That one wasn't a gaff, dude. When he was like, can you believe in a year we had, 100 year, it's, we more deaths in 100 years than a year. And I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to say, dude.
I'm telling you, man. Nursing home flashbacks.
Yeah. It's really sad, man.
It's too bad.
Well, I don't know I don't know what we do other than maybe we do just stay home, make money and vote.
I think you should keep journalisming the journalists.
Commentary
like watching
for
the
the most part.
Watchmen. Yeah.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.